right, B&A didn't load up Apollo. We're gonna bring up. Let's see if Apollo loads up. And Apollo don't even know who's about to get. Apollo, are you there?
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me? What's up?
Yeah, what's up, man? What's your faith? What do you believe?
Yo, how do you get the worst?
I'm a
people
Muslim,
on
man.
here?
All right, bro.
I know all these names, and that's
I
like
know.
the worst people I get every day.
I know. Apollo, what's up? What do you believe, man?
I'm a Muslim. I would say
You're
I
a
was
Muslim. All right, brother. Well,
Yeah.
here I got somebody who I got an expert for you to speak to. Go ahead, Muslim. I want you to speak to a good friend of mine. And let
Okay,
me
hey,
know.
what's up? Peace, apologetics. What's good?
What's up?
Nothing
Did you
much.
say you're a Muslim mostly?
No, I said I'm a Muslim.
Fearless, you
That's it.
think you get the worst ones? Esoteric is requesting up, bro. Oh my god.
I'm not gonna, just a fair warning. I've never talked to this guy before, but on the look of Nick's face, I am not gonna go in circles. This might not be a long conversation, and I'm okay with that. If you can't answer and engage, I will move on pretty quickly.
Understood. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm just going to be attacking the claim that the Trinity is logical, right? And usually when people talk about something being logical, what they mean is that there's no contradiction. It's coherent, it's understandable, and that makes sense, right? So the idea is pretty simple. It's predicated primarily on certain commitments that Trinitarians have. For example, Trinitarians would believe that the Son is Jesus Christ, and of course, believing in that is, of course, let you believe that there exists one divine person, right, which was also possessive of the human nature at some point in time, which I believe is going to be contradictory, and I can give the argument in favor of that claim.
So what's the contradiction?
Yeah, so the contradiction is just going to be that the Son is essentially omnipotent and the Son is essentially non-omnipotent. See, when you're talking about natures like
Yeah.
divine nature and human nature, you're talking about like the essential characteristics of a given object pertaining to these given categories.
No, I asked what's the contradiction, and you
Yeah.
just told me like differences instead. So can you define contradiction?
A contradiction
What's going on here?
a contradiction is a combination of two diametrically opposed statements in the same respects at the same time.
Same time, same respect, right?
Yep.
Okay, so what's the contradiction with a divine person possessing two natures?
Yeah, well, not just possessing two natures, but possessing the human nature. That was where the contradiction comes from. The contradiction is simply that it follows necessarily that the Son is necessarily omnipotent and is necessarily not omnipotent. That's a contradiction.
Yeah, but that's not in the same sense, so it's not a contradiction by definition.
Oh, that's false, because you have to understand natures would be talking about something in all respects, and natures are not something which can be classified as reduplicative operators. Do you know what a reduplicative operator is?
As what? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So
I
there-
don't know if it's just me that he's choppy.
So there's a
But I'm
thing
really
if you
trying
look closer.
hard to.
Yeah, so there's a
I'm
thing
really
called
trying hard to
reduplicative
follow.
operator.
Hang on one
Yeah,
second. Let me
so
see. Let me
there's
see
a
if I
thing
can fix it.
called-
Give me a second. Give me a second, guys.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see if
If you're
that's,
cutting, if you're cutting out, I can take him.
No, hang on. Give me one. So no, she's good. I think there's I think it's feeding through twice on. Try now, guys. Try to talk to each other.
Yo, what's up? Can you hear me? Better?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a thing called reduplicative operator. Have you ever heard of that terminology?
I'm sorry, what's the first word?
Reduplicative.
Duplicate developer?
Reduplicative operator. It's called reduplicative.
Reduplicative operator?
Yeah. Yup. It's
Okay.
called reduplicative operators. Yeah. It's like
And what's that?
indexicals. So basically it's an indexical. So for example, if I say that LeBron James is tall as an NBA point guard, but he's not tall in a different respect, the point guard terminology would be an indexical, which makes it the case that those two sentences would not be in the same respects and there would not be a contradiction. But that wouldn't apply to the
Honestly,
Trinity.
I don't see how that follows. I don't see how that follows. You're gonna need to point to me that the divine person of the Son of God possessing two natures is a contradiction. Like point out the contradiction. It shouldn't be hard.
So to be the
If
yeah,
it's
I
a
already did, by the way,
contradiction,
so
a contradiction. If a contradiction is distinctly like opposing, it shouldn't be hard to point out.
yeah, I've already pointed out the contradiction, but I'll do it again, right? So when you talk about the divine nature, you're talking about the essential features for something to be a divine object. Some of these essential features would include something like omnipotence, right? That means if you possess the divine nature, then you're necessarily omnipotent. If you possess the human nature, you're necessarily non-omnipotent because what it means to be a
Okay.
human entails
Okay.
non-omnipotence.
In respects to his human nature, right? But his person, his divine person never changes.
I don't think you understand it. So because
So
of the fact
so
that
when
it
we
is
say in respects, so when we say
okay,
in respects to
understood.
his human nature, it means that if his human nature is in a spatial location, then in respects to his human nature, he's in a spatial location. But that doesn't mean that his personhood isn't divine. I'm sorry,
That
guys.
doesn't work because when
I
you're
don't think he
indexing
remembered to
the
mute up.
when you're saying
Yeah,
that
he
they're
didn't.
in
He
different
didn't.
respects, right? The reasons why this does not work
So no,
is
no, no.
because these are
You
essential
would have to point out
characteristics.
a contradiction in the divine person possessing two different natures. You would have to point out the contradiction.
I did, but you understand that essential characteristics are universalizable, right?
He possesses both. So what's the
No, I'm asking you a
contradiction?
question. Do you understand that essential characteristics are universalizable? Like, do you understand this?
It doesn't matter. He's divine.
It does matter because if it is hear
We
me
don't
out.
apply
Watch this. I
universals
got
to
you.
a
I got you.
like something
I got you.
transcendental.
I got you. So the reasons why it does matter, I'll explain right now. The reasons why it does in fact matter is because of the fact that it's universalizable. Just possessing the divine nature means that in all
I just
cases.
refuted that. So
Wait,
like
hold on. Let
you're
me just
saying
finish
you
my point.
understand and then
Right?
you're still
I'm trying to clarify the
you're
points I'm
saying the
making
same
right
thing.
now because you wanted me to establish the contradiction, so I'm doing it right now. The very fact of it
No,
being
you're not. You
universalizable.
just keep going back to the
Can I
fact
finish
that
my
his
point?
human
No, I'm going
nature
to a
is
different
not
point to establish
omnipotent
my
and his
contradiction.
divine nature
I'm
is.
trying to finish the point.
Okay.
So,
What's the
here's the point.
contradiction
I'm
of the
trying to
divine
deliver the
person
contradiction.
possessing both natures?
So I'm trying to deliver the contradiction to make you understand the point, but you're interrupting, right? So it's very simple. Because of the fact it is universalizable, that means it is going to be the case that the Son is omnipotent in all respects, right? And because the human nature and the essential features of such is also universalizable, that means he's not omnipotent in all respects. So there's going to be
What's the
multiple case
argument that it has to
scenarios
be in all respects? Because if I say he's
because they are
omnipotent in
necessary
respects to his
features.
divine nature, what's the argument that no, he can't just only be omnipotent in respects to his divine nature? He needs to be omnipotent in all respects, even unqualified. What's
Yeah,
the
the
argument for
argument is
that?
based off. It's based off effects and modal logic. So necessity entails universality. So if something is a necessary characteristic, then it's going to be universally applicable.
I just told you
So
universality can't be applied to a divine being.
no, it does apply to a divine being because nature talks about essences, and the essences are essential characteristics,
That's
not
not an
contingent
argument for
characteristics.
universality
That's not
being applied
a
to a divine being
argument.
who
No, it is an
transcends
argument.
any type of universalism.
No, I don't think you understand it again, right? So essential
Am
characteristics
I the one that
when you're
understands it?
talking about nature, yes, you're definitely the one that's understanding.
And
But
you're
look,
talking about
I'm
contradictions because
I'm not entertained by these Jedi mind tricks. Could I just finish my point, please, and then you can speak
What?
afterwards, please? I'm
yeah,
just
go
gonna
ahead. What do
say,
you mean by universalized?
yeah, that means it applies in all cases. So if you possess the essential features
Exactly.
to be a
Unqualified.
human, hold on. If you possess the essential features to be a human, that means you're essentially a human. Then that means there's no case scenario in which you do
Yo,
not
Maverick,
possess
can you
these
hear us?
characteristics.
We can hear you. I can hear you. Yep.
I can hear you.
I can hear you, Peace. Can you hear us?
Yeah, but I think your static is like interfering.
I don't know. I don't hear anything. Hang on.
Okay,
We got a little static over here.
so can you hear me now? Gotcha, cool. So I'm saying that because of the fact you possess the human nature, like if you possess the human nature or the essence of being a human, then that means you possess the essential characteristics of being a human. That means necessarily, given that fact, you would be a human. And if you're necessarily
Okay.
a human or you necessarily possess human properties, then there's no case scenario in which you do not possess these properties or the negation towards these properties. The same logic applies here because you're talking about natures here. God is necessarily omnipotent to the greatness, right?
Okay.
Okay, so if God is necessarily omnipotent, that means in all
Yeah,
case
like I'm
scenarios,
just
he's
confused, right?
omnipotent. Wait,
No,
you're
you know
about
what's
to be
funny?
in a
No, you
state
know
of
what's interesting? I don't
what's
know if
up?
you realize you're doing this, but you are
What am I doing?
already yourself categorizing it by saying this nature and that nature. I'm agreeing that to be a specific nature, you have to possess all the essential properties of that nature. So to be a human, you have to possess all essential properties to be human that it is to that makes a human a
This is
human,
just like a
and you have
duplicate
to possess all the divine
knowledge, to be
natures,
honest.
all the divine properties if you have a divine nature. So I don't disagree with that. The first of all, you came up here talking about the Trinity, and now we're talking about the hypostatic union, which you guys do every single day. But the hypostatic union is simply the divine person uniting himself with a second nature, being the human nature. So
Okay,
what
so
is the contradiction with the divine person uniting himself with the human nature?
so watch me bear this argument, guys. So watch this. So to be clear, you agree that
Or I
God
should
is
say uniting the human
necessarily
nature to himself.
omnipotent, right?
Answer the
Hold on.
question.
Hold on, peace. 1 second, Apollo. Just so you know, brother, I muted you. I have a pet peeve on my live. Don't you dare address my audience. This is not your live. You don't get that privilege. Okay. If you're gonna have trash rhetoric, then you can take that crap somewhere else. All right. But as you can see, this is not the Apollo live. You don't address my audience. Your pathetic attempt at Quora tactics is not going to work here. Address the argument, or we
tactics.
can go somewhere else with you. Okay.
So look
Now
at
go ahead
Okay,
and address what they said.
your question originally, right, which you kind of evaded, right, which is understandable. Do you believe that God is necessarily omnipotent?
What's the argument, bro? Because I told you I'm not going
I'm
to take
asking you a
long.
question. Okay, so I'm going to give the argument since you are unable to answer
Because
the
no,
question. So
because
the
I
answer is
asked
yes.
you a question.
The answer is yes.
Maverick
God
checked
is
you real
necessarily
quick.
omnipotent.
Then you tried to ask me a question, not answer my question, and haven't presented an argument
I asked
since
you the
we
question
started.
first before we started talking, to be clear, and you did not answer the question, but that's fine. I'll just deliver the argument. So the argument is God is necessarily omnipotent, right? So that's going to be the first premise, right? So God is necessarily omnipotent. That means it is impossible for him to not be omnipotent. However, given the commitments that you have, there's going to be a possibility of him also not being omnipotent while simultaneously necessarily being omnipotent. Therefore, there's a contradiction given no more than logic works. That was easy. And the
Okay,
funnest part
stop right
about
there.
this is
Stop
I'm
right
not
there.
even
Stop
trying
right
to talk.
there. Stop right there. Because you said, so for somebody who knows so many words, you still don't know how to present an argument because you didn't prove anything. And
I can
you
deliver a formal
defined
argument.
contradiction. You define contradiction the same way I define contradiction. So in simple terms, P and not P at the same time in the same sense. Point out the contradiction. Point out the P and not P at the same time in the same sense. Go.
Yeah, there was literally me claiming the sun is omnipotent in all cases, but the sun is not omnipotent in all
In the
cases, given
okay, so what's the argument that it's in all cases?
because of the fact that natures are descriptive of essences or essential features, and essential
Okay,
features.
in all cases, does
Well,
all
wait, I'm
cases
still
mean
talking.
all
God
senses?
damn, let me give
Also,
the
wait, does
argument.
all cases
I'm
also
trying to
mean
finish
in
the
all
argument.
senses and all natures? Is that what you mean?
No, that's not what I'm talking about there. They just finished the argument.
Oh,
So
thank
you
you.
asked me for
Thank
the
you then.
argument.
Thank you.
I
So
took
if
a
in all
concession.
cases he is divine, but and not in every sense, if he takes on a second nature, that he can also
I never said it's not in every sense. I'm saying
he can
it's in
also
every sense.
operate in virtue of that nature.
Wait, what are you talking
is
about?
the P and not P at the same time in the same sense?
Wait, you've lost your mind. I've actually said it's going to be applicable to all cases. What are you talking about? So it will be applicable towards all senses. And I was giving the argument as to why essences
What is the
relate to the
argument
types
that
of
all
things.
but you already said all senses doesn't even mean all natures and
That's not
all
what I said.
and
I
wait,
said
you
that's
said
not what I
all
was saying.
you said you didn't mean all senses. You said all
I
cases
never
doesn't
said
mean
this.
all senses
I
and all
never said
natures.
it does not mean this. I said that's not what I was saying. I was giving an argument for
So
a
now
separate
okay.
claim,
So does
which you
all
asked me to
cases
demonstrate.
mean all natures and all senses?
It would quantify over all of those cases. Yes, definitely. Now, could I finish the
All
argument?
senses. Okay,
Right?
so what's the argument that God being omnipotent means in all senses and all natures?
Because of the fact that his omnipotence is in virtue of his divine nature, his divine essence, and natures and essences relates to essential features of an object, and that which is essential is that which is necessary, and we know in modal logic, necessity quantifies over all possibilities. So we have a domain of
you're
discourse
saying that
called
it's not
possibilities,
possible for
and it
God
quantifies over
to
all
take
of
on
those elements.
a second nature. That's what you're saying.
Given the fact that natures refers to essential features, yes. It's not possible for him to take
So
on a
you're
second nature
saying
which is
that God,
contradicting his
wait.
divine
So
nature.
you're saying that God, the all-powerful God, as a Muslim, can't manifest in creation.
You can't manifest as a human, no, definitely not. What would he be able to do?
Oh, so he can
That's a
manifest as a
contradiction.
tree? Can he manifest as a tree?
No, he cannot. No.
No. So when
Do you think this is a
Allah
doctrine?
spoke to Musa in a burning tree, Was that a tree talking to Musa, or was that Allah
He
talking
wasn't
to Musa?
manifesting as a tree.
Yes or no? Was it Allah speaking, or was it the tree speaking?
Allah was speaking, but he was not a tree at the time.
Being
You can better the conversation, by
manifested
the way.
in creation?
I like how you derailed the conversation because you lost the point.
No, what are you talking about? It's called the argument of consistency, right? You're a Muslim, right? You believe in Allah, right? So you believe He is all powerful, just like I believe that God is all powerful,
All
even
powerful does
powerful
not mean
enough
being able
to
to commit
take on a second
contradictions.
nature. You
Do you think
believe
it is
that Allah took
possible?
on the nature of a tree.
Do
That
you
is
think
not
it is
even
possible
rational.
for the Christian God to take on the satanic nature? Is that a possibility? Can God right
So,
now take on the
so
nature of being Satan? Yes or no?
you're just gonna pivot again.
I'm the one giving the argument to pivot it away from the point by asking me this
You
question.
haven't
And I'm
given me
asking
an
you a question.
argument. So
I
Allah
answered
can
the
manifest
question.
through a tree, but God can't take on a human
He's not
nature.
manifesting through a tree in the sense where he is a tree at a given time or possessed the nature of being a tree. That's irrelevant to the point. Can they get back to the point, please?
So
Thank
in
you.
a sense, Allah can manifest in creation, right?
Incorrect. Try again.
In a sense, that's not a contradiction.
I'm claiming that that's not the point that I'm making, Carlos. That's irrelevant.
That is
Try
the
again.
point. You
No, it
said that
isn't. I
if God
deny that to be
manifests
very
in
specific.
creation, that's a contradiction.
No, I claim that
Because now
Allah
he's
was not
not
manifesting
omnipotent.
as a
Now he's not
tree. I said
omnipotent.
that
He's in a tree.
verbatim.
He's not omnipotent. He's in a
I
tree.
explicitly stated that he would not be a tree in that given case, nor does he possess the nature of a tree. So that's
Oh, so
disannounced.
in a
Get back to the
sense,
point, please.
he didn't really change,
No,
right?
not in a sense. Incorrect. I'm denying this again. Can we get back to the point, please?
Yeah, this is the very point.
No, this is
That
not the
God
point. The
taking
point
on
is
a
us
second
talking about
nature is
natures
not a
and the fact that you're
contradiction.
God who would necessarily be omnipotent and necessarily not be omnipotent at the same time, which is a contradiction.
Yeah,
You
your
asked me,
God
wait,
is
hold on.
necessarily
You asked,
omnipotent and necessarily not omnipotent when
we're
he's
talking about your God,
manifesting
buddy.
via a
Nice
tree.
try, though. This is the low tier, dishonest Indian scammer rhetoric that I always face when I go up against Christians. You always derail the conversation. We're talking about your God here, not my God, and I'm explicit.
No, we're talking about God and his omnipotence and his power, right?
I'm got muted by the way, but that's fine. It's you guys panel anyways.
You
But
are
look, I'm
bringing
telling right
a
now.
logical
So
argument
peace
against
apologetics.
the Trinity, but your argument is inconsistent with your own worldview.
No, it doesn't, because my argument, or nor is it the case that Islam is claiming that
You already
Allah is a
concede to
tree.
your own
You guys
argument in
claim
your own
I'm not
worldview.
conceded anything, with the exception of you being inconsistent in this conversation. Just to be clear on that. That's the first point.
Guys, I'm just playing with my
Secondly,
food at this
I've
point, but I know one
explicitly
of y'all want
denied.
to like tackle
Why are
this
you being
so
dishonest?
hard,
What's
but
going
go
on? You're
ahead.
panicking
Go
right now. What's
ahead.
going on? I thought
I'm
we
all
were a good
right.
faith interlocutor.
Honestly, he's
So
not
I
giving me
made
an
a
argument. I already wasted more time than I wanted to, so.
All right, W drop. Appreciate that from Sister Pete. Yeah, at this point, I kind of knew when he realized he was cooked, guys, because he started accusing Peace of not actually addressing the point, and he's saying that's not the point. It actually is the point. The minute you start saying stuff like that, guys, it's pretty much over, and you're betraying your own worldview. That was what was even funnier about that. W Peace. Not that I expected anything less. We have a lot of guests, thank God. Yeah, for those of you who think that she ran, go ahead and request up and try to run the same argument. Let's see if you make it any further. G1, you are on stage. What is your faith, man?
Oh, I'm a Christian. I was gonna address the argument that he was given, and it was
Slippery stage, brother. Slippery stage. My bad. I'm sorry. They just mopped the stage, and they're using a new flavor of Fabuloso. It's real slippery, bro. So you got to be careful on stage, man.